Time's up, Admiral.
Here it comes.
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go f yourself. But go f yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob.
Give me the meat and give it to me raw.
What's the matter? Take yourself a great big bite of meat. Taste the pleasure of the highest quality pork around.
But we're told that we don't like any of this because we're misogynists. We just don't like this stuff because we're women. And the only reason we're unhappy about the Ray movie coming out, because, guys, did you hear the Ray movie was canceled and uncanceled? Did you hear that?
Dre, you heard that too, right?
I did hear it.
Wait,
I did hear it.
What did I do?
You said because we're women.
We hate it because we're women.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I see. Now Ariel just arrived, and she's going to make sure that I remember that.
Yes, we didn't want it to come out like this, but Adam is in fact trans. He's coming out of the closet. Him and Jeremy are in a relationship. It's time.
It's still there.
I didn't say that.
We want to enjoy what we're looking at. We don't want sores and fat whores.
Liar! No.
Let me be as clear as I can. Ain't no colors in Scandinavia.
Game over, man. It's game over.
Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star. How many people died on that? Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star. Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star.
Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star.
Oh, the camera's still off. Hi. Listen, I am not all. Listen, I just at the last minute put together the fresh roundtable intro, and you could see I missed a clip. You could see the Lucasfilm banner still behind it, and I forgot to leave enough space so that there was some black background, so I know when to cut it off and switch to the next clip. So we're sitting there for 2 seconds with just the background. I'm really, wait a minute. Oh, it's over. I'm not all here this morning. I was up late and I didn't get a lot of sleep for a lot of reasons. But anyway, welcome everybody to the round table where we give you our very special takes on the week's events. And we hope you're going to enjoy the show. We have an interesting one for you, I think, today. Going to cover the week's events because, listen, things are terrible. Things are really bad out there. And it really is coming across on a lot of levels. So we're here to make it a little more fun for you. We're here to add some entertainment for it. And at the same time, we're here to try and have good discussions on it and to make you understand that while things are bad, they could probably be even worse. And don't let yourself get caught up in this. We're here to have fun for you and with you. Either way, let's say hi. Hi, Jed. Hi, Jed. I got no joke. So.
No jokes. We finally come to the very end of the jokes when it comes to seeing each other.
Maybe not. My brain's just not operating.
Okay.
Part of it.
It is great to be here as always. We always have great entertainment to mock, and by great I mean like horrible, but entertaining to talk about at least. And I find the more entertaining part of this bad entertainment is watching the stands and the detractors freaking out. Because right now with Doctor Who, that's absolutely happening. And then from the Hellblade 2 discussion clip from last week, there are people melting down in the comments of that clip who have no idea what we actually talked about, including one who he's losing his mind by the fact that he thinks I said Hellblade 2 should have never been a AAA game. He said, it should have. You should, if you're pretending to be smart, you should at least know your native language. When what I actually said was should have. Like, yes, that is informal, but It's still
Yeah.
correct. So the entertainment value from these stands is great. So please come into the comments of my video.
Yeah.
Please tweet up a storm about the nonsense that you believe, and I will laugh at it. I will laugh so hard at the people trying to defend Dot and Bubble of Doctor Who,
man.
trying to say that we're wrong.
We're going to talk about
other-
that because you're right. You're absolutely the stands are going to play a large role in our conversation today, both as they reveal themselves, who they are, and what they care about, and at the same time, they reveal themselves to be fake. They reveal themselves to not have an ounce of actual knowledge of these shows they claim to make their lives about. And that's we're just talking about this before we went on camera. These weirdos make these franchises or these bastardizations of the franchise we love. They make it into their whole lives. And it's fascinating to watch them, as Jed's going to give us a good one in a few minutes here, melt down when the barrier between their fantasy and reality, or the reality they live in, crumbles and they can't handle it. But we're going to get to it. We got some good ones today with that. And Dragon Lady, hello. Good evening. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Finally was able to watch Godzilla -1 yesterday for the first time on Netflix, because it was on Netflix over here, and I very much enjoyed it. Quite interesting to see how, quite interesting to see how they do Godzilla over there in comparison to how we do it over here. So, I was quite happy with it.
Hey, everybody seems to like it, and that's good. And it was one of those things that people actually enjoyed this year. So I'm glad you got to see it. A lot of people are complaining that it's not coming out in physical media, and it's only being released digitally right now. There's a small hullabaloo about that. And
it wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me in the UK either, because we're not exactly great with physical media coming over from that particular part of the world, unfortunately.
You might have special order overseas from Japan.
And not even then there's there's always the regional codes for
it's the whole distribution nonsense.
I think the regional lock is retarded.
It is retarded.
Yeah,
it's stupid. I mean, I have a couple of years ago, I was trying to get a copy of Sean Connery, Wesley Snipes' Rising Sun, and I kept trying to order it, and they kept sending me. It would say one thing on Amazon, but then they would send me the wrong one. And, like two of them were French copies or something. And the last one I got came, and I'm like, oh shit, Steelbook for only $15? Hell yes. And it arrives, and it's another French version. The thing is, I tried to return it, and they said, no, thank you. Just keep it. Not going to charge you. Here's your money back. So I have a copy of Rising Sun sitting in a drawer in the living room. It's not on my shelf because it's French, but I didn't want to get rid of it because it's the Steelbook. So at some point, I'm going to get my hands on an actual proper regional version for myself, North American regional version, and put it in the Steelbook and put it on the shelf, because I'm not throwing out a Steelbook. It was free. So it's retarded. It's just stupid.
The big problem I have is when I was in London a few years ago, I went to 221B Baker Street, and they have a little gift shop there, and I got the entire works of the Sherlock TV show. It was a bundle for all the DVDs for like £10, which was a good deal. And I didn't at the time, I was 17, so I had no idea what region lock was. I had no knowledge of this, so I bring it home, put it in the DVD player, and it's nothing.
Yeah, you're a kid. You're like, wait, what region lock? What the hell are you talking about? It's a disc.
Yeah, that happened. That happened with me 20 years ago when Spirited Away came out on DVD and Blu-ray, and we heard about it through an art documentary on TV. We were like, oh, this looks really, really good. In my ignorance, we didn't even know that we couldn't get in the UK. So the copy that I actually have on DVD was from America.
Yeah.
And I've been wondering for years as to how come the front cover looks a lot different than what I see now in HMV. Apparently my parents got it for me from the US.
And I think that's why some people are just so willing to go straight to digital, because digital knows no borders. Digital copy just about plays and everything. On certain devices it won't play, but it will get the way I get it. Ahoy. Certain things don't play, but it's much easier that way. But I still will prefer, if something's good and I like it and I love it and I want it, if I can get it, I'd rather have it as part of my physical media
Same here.
Yeah. Anyway, Dre isn't here. He had a personal thing come up at the last minute. He's going to try and make it here. So we're going to pad certain topics that he isn't interested in with the hopes that he'll get here in time to join us. Either way, we are going to go forward with our show today. Let's say hail and howdy to the chat. You're here. You're not talkative, but you are here. Hail to the chat. Hail Masquerade. How are you? Good afternoon. Hail to Static. Hey, Static. Hail Ruben X, how are you? And hey, Crimers, hey. Well, I'm not exactly a Crimer, but I'm friends with Crimers, and that's a good thing. Hail Last Tolan, always good to see that SG1 representation. Huzzah, son of Jocks, or hail Frank Blazkowicz, how are you? Good afternoon, Kale, and hail Jay Fraser 360. And yes, as I replied to I got your email if you didn't see it, and I will pass what you sent to me onto Dermy, and I will get his thoughts on that. All right, so. Hail anybody else?
Jeremy's thoughts.
It's on anime things. It's an anime.
Oh, okay.
It's an anime thing. And hail Elvis GC, how are you? And hail everybody else just watching, not chatting. We're happy to have you here on what is always a busy Sunday afternoon. We hope you enjoy the rest of the show. Hit that like button, subscribe to everybody's channels, and enjoy. All right, so we've got Acolyte. Acolyte is a few days away, literally 72 hours away. I will be covering it. Wednesday, you'll get my review, but the buildup has been insane, and we're going to talk about that. Hollywood is falling apart. It's been documented on this show, other shows. We've talked about it, but it's as though the useful idiot pretenders don't realize it. They don't realize their actions, their behavior, the way they're handling fans, the way the companies are dealing with fans. They do not realize that they are just destroying whatever little interest is left, and the box office is showing it, and then people aren't caring. They just aren't. And of course, we've got a couple of things. If we have time, there's a little video game news. There was a PlayStation State of Play this week.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not hear anything about that.
Well, there a bunch of stuff was announced, but some other things were just, wow, are you dense with this? There's a body positivity 5-person shooter with DEI all over it, and then Sony just keeps stepping in it. Listen, once again, Sony guy, it's my console of choice, but I'm not so Sony brony boy to be blinded to the fact that they keep making stupid mistakes. And they've announced some stuff with some Steam releases, and yeah, they're upfront with it now, but they have so much bad press that people are ignoring the fact that they're just behaving like everybody else and F Sony. So they're being stupid. But we're going to start with what we always love to start with on this Sunday morning while we're in this period. Last night, myself, Jed, and Dermy, if you haven't watched it, when we're done here, go check out Doctor Who Cares Reviews. We covered the latest episode, Dot and Bubble, which was hilariously bad. It was terrible. I'm going to release a short little clip from yesterday's review later on today, just to encapsulate how dumb it was at the very end of the episode. But as always, we love Sunday mornings at this point because we get those overnights, and I haven't seen them. One, because I'm completely behind schedule today, and also I generally tell Jed, don't show me until we go live so that you can get my instantaneous reactions. So Jed, give us the overnights from Dot and Bubble.
All right. So we had a lot of predictions about these numbers. It's kind of up in the air because we had the lowest overnights of all time a couple weeks ago with the episode Boom. And then there was a massive, I say in context of these numbers, spike for the next week's episode. Jeremy and I both predicted we wouldn't quite get back down to the low of Boom because of how big that spike was, but we'd get close to it. And then the week after that, we'd get under 2 million. It looks like those predictions were correct. You want to pull this up? Episode 5, Dot and Bubble got 2.12, so not quite down to the Boom.
Little
disaster.
over what you guys said. Dermy said 2-1. No, didn't Dermy say 201? He said 201, I think.
He said 20 something, I think.
Yeah, he said he had a 0 in there.
But 2.12. It is now the second lowest overnight in Doctor Who history. So we're not looking at anything good here. 2.20 was the Legend of the Sea Devils, Jodie Whittaker's lowest viewed episode, and that slots in here very well. But this is consistently the lowest viewership in the show's history. Worse than the Jodie Whittaker era, worse than the 60th anniversary specials, worse than when the show got started in 1963, worse than when the show got canceled in the 80s in obscurity. These are just abysmal numbers. And the people defending it are just coming up with the greatest, worst excuses.
We're going to get into that in a second. And all right, in my own defense, I keep saying 1-9 because I'm going to be right.
He's going to be right. You're going to be right. Yeah. Probably next week. I think next week you're going to be right.
Also, if I wanted past couple weeks, I wanted to look brilliant if it was true. So I decided, fuck it. I'm just going to. I'll
gambled with it.
I gambled again. I lost. Listen, that's still a 500,000 drop. That's a 500,000 viewer drop in 1 week. That's abysmal, dude. That shows it. In a sense, I was right. I tried to defend why it would get down to 1-9, but my premise is still correct. People were so disenfranchised by Moffat's lame-ass 73 yards. No, I'm sorry. Moffat was boom. 73 yards. See, it's all jumbled in my head now. 73 yards. 73 yards was such a nothing. It accomplished something. It did nothing, and it made so little sense that 500,000 people in England said, "Nope, I'm done. I'm out," and they cannot afford to lose even 100,000 because
we tried to warn them. We tried to warn them ages ago when they admitted out they were going to do this. So don't say we didn't warn you.
We said it all the time. You're not going to connect with the actual Doctor Who fan base. You're not going to. And if you give us, it was a Moffat bump. People showed up on episode 3 to watch Moffat, and I guess they watched it in the what do you call them,
the consolidated were better, but by just sheer number, it's still lower overall consolidated, but more consolidated views were added than the predecessors.
People watched consolidated and stuck around from the consolidated to watch overnight because you could see that from the consolidated into the overnights for last week. But now here, after 73 yards, they said, well, this is bullshit. We're out. So they didn't stay for the overnights, which means the consolidateds will likely be lower. The consolidated will probably be 3 million.
I think these are all the low 3 million for last week's episode and this week. I predict somewhere around 3 million. It's not crossing 4, even though 2.62 is the best that we've had this season. I don't think it's crossing 4, even in the +4.
No. Which means this week's consolidated will, when they get around to it in a month from now, it'll be under 3 million. My guess this week's will be under 3 million, and next week is the week where it drops under 2 million for overnights. It has to be.
I do think next week is our only chance to get it, in my opinion, to get it under 2, because we normally see a slight bump in viewership for finales. That's just general. Even for bad TV shows, there's going to be a slight bump for finales. Starting and ending episodes are usually your two best ones, unless there's extenuating circumstances like with episode 4. So 7 and 8, and because they're released back to back, I think 8 will be lower than 7, but 7 and 8 I definitely see as being above 2. Not a big bump. I'm not predicting anything like what happened in episode 4 versus episode 3, but I think we're going to get back up over 2 for the finale.
Here's the weird thing about the finale. They're putting it in the theaters.
Yeah.
How is that going to cut into the overnights?
Well, it depends on when they're going to be released too, because it's
same night. Night.
Well, Friday night or Saturday night?
Friday night.
So it is going to be released a day before it comes out on iPlayer. So that's more that you're taking away from it.
Yeah. So I think I believe it's a Friday night release, since it releases Friday night here. So I'm pretty sure it's Friday night release. So that's going to be a weird thing, and we've talked about that. It's a very weird decision to put it in theaters when your numbers are struggling. And I think you are right. I think the 7/8 will dip back over 2 million for the simple fact that it's a 2-part finale, and people are going to be there for that.
And with 2-parters, you almost always see less in the second episode, even more so with Doctor Who being terrible right now, just like this 2-part opening. So 8, I think, will be less than 7. 7 will probably be around 2.2, I'd say, and then this one somewhere in the 2.1 range, maybe below 2.1. That's my prediction here.
I agree, but this is abysmal. And we're going to get to this in 1 second. Jay Fraser brings it up. That final scene, apparently it was Ncuti Gatwa's first scene filmed.
That makes so much sense.
And it doesn't help anything. It's abysmal. And we're going to talk about that because that was the twist. I guess that's the kindest word we can use. It was the twist of it. And I'm trying to get the right window here. Where is it? Here we go. It was the twist for this episode that, for lack of a lengthy description, I don't want to get into it. This whole episode at first seemed like a focus on how everybody's too addicted to social media, and you watched our review yesterday. We mentioned that there's a good concept in the idea of yesterday's episode. People are addicted to social media; they're letting it run their lives, but it's executed poorly and stupidly with bad dialogue, bad acting, and then there's the massive twist at the end that it was all about more racism. It turns out that if you didn't realize it, if you're watching that, was this entire colony of young white people, as soon as they're given the option to be saved by Ncuti Gatwa, they say, no, you can't save us because you're basically an ignorant black person. We can't trust you. You've got, literally they say, you've got cooties.
Basically, yeah. Well, and I think one of the bigger points with the racism of this episode was how they tried to make it subtle through the beginning part of the episode. A lot of people didn't know that there were a lot of racist jabs towards Ncuti Gatwa throughout the entire episode. And I think that ties into their whole argument of microaggressions. If you hear that, that's a big thing coming from the woke left you guys don't even realize you do microaggressions. Oh, if you didn't see the racism coming, that means you're actually racist because you don't know what a microaggression is. And they believe microaggressions are equal to physical violence. So
yeah,
I think there was some of that playing into the terrible narrative of the episode, the terrible political propaganda.
And
messaging.
Jed sent me this last night, so I'm going to bring it up. And Jed, you can regale us with this. This is so dumb right here. This person, in response to last night's episode where the racism, the point is they reveal the racism. Ncuti Gatwa tries to save them from themselves, but they're going to die without his help, and they leave. And he has this really pathetic meltdown where he again cries. He cries all over himself and then gives up on life and walks away. And we all just rolled our eyes and said, there you go. They made it all about racism. But here you go. Here's somebody who says, me watching everyone completely miss that dot and bubble wasn't about Gen Z being on their phones and wasn't, in fact, about the dangers of white supremacist echo chambers created by tech companies with equally racist algorithms. Jed, was there any mention of big tech or algorithms in this episode?
None whatsoever, because the episode went in no effort to world build at all. We don't know what job they're trying to do. It's data entry of some kind, but why are they doing it? How are they doing it? Who are they working for? There was nothing about big tech. There's nothing about algorithms. Yes, there is a bubble around their head, so there is that whole thing about racists live in a bubble.
And that's more social media.
It is more social media. They just can't take the criticism themselves of this terrible episode. It was 100% about social media to a certain extent, but it was more so about the racism. But this person just really doesn't want to see any criticism directed towards her, apparently, according to the bio. But
and a self-described MILF, which if you have to describe yourself as a MILF, you probably aren't.
Well, especially with her only being 34. That's not MILF territory yet.
It is in porn.
That's true.
I speak from research experience. That's all. But
this person just doesn't want to realize that there's some criticism directed at her because she believes this whole narrative about, oh my God, Doctor Who is so politically progressive. It's against the race. It's against the evil people. If there's something even remotely against her, she can't handle it, so she's got to freak out like this. Now, I do agree that it was more so about racism, so she does have a point there. It doesn't make it good, but this is melting down to keep her worldview intact, her way of life is being acceptable, even though I 100% believe she lives her life in a pseudo way the Dot and Bubble people did as well. First thing she does when she wakes up, checks Twitter, checks all her social media.
Right here.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is example of the criticism in the episode.
And here's the thing. When we finished stream last night, I went on to Chatterday, or eventually went to Chatterday. I did some extra stuff before I went on. And Dermy, you said the same exact thing to Dermy last night. And he said, Adam, did you see what Jed sent me? I said, yeah, he sent it to me too. And Dermy actually had an actual bit of insight. I know. Wow. Hold on a second. Wow. And a good bit of insight because I said the same exact thing to him that I said to you in response to this, which we just talked about. And he said, but Adam, you have to understand. And again, I am that Dermy actually said this and he made some sense. These people will reach into anything and claim. And if you go deeper in this, they talk about subtlety and nuance and this and that. I mean, this person goes on and on and on. They talk about, you don't understand subtlety and nuance. And they actually think that not mentioning it openly is the nuance. And at the same time, that Russell T. Davies might actually think that not mentioning it is the nuance.
Nuance, you have to have it in there. Yes, it's subtle. That's the definition of nuance.
Something.
Yeah, there has to be something, but that's what we see with all these episodes, even the ones that aren't set up to be super smart, is these stands have to go to extreme headcanon lengths to explain what actually happened, and then they claim it's nuance and good writing. That's what happened with 73 yards, people coming up with these wild theories about how 73 yards actually makes sense, but it only works because of headcanon. And so this is just another example, but in a different way with the whole, it's actually about racist algorithms, which they're not even reference to algorithms. It's just your friends list. These people just talk to their friends all the time, 24/7, and they can go out and look for other people to follow, but there's no even suggestion of an algorithm. So that's not nuance. That's just nothing. So, yeah, I'm sure this person, if she ever wrote anything like Russell T. Davies, she'd think she's a genius, a Christopher Nolan, a savant of writing. I'm sure she'd have the same opinions of herself, but it's just not there. Russell's not smart enough to come up with an actual conclusion or an explanation to any of these episodes anymore. And these people think they're smart enough to fill in the gaps for him, but they're failing at that as well. So even with their headcanon, this stuff doesn't make sense.
And it falls apart. And when it's the same thing we talk about with Disney Star Wars, when you have to create your own fan fiction to fill in other fan fictions lacking in story and plot and rational behavior and rational responses and actions, it shows how weak the whole thing is. And we talked about this yesterday as well. We are now 5 episodes in to all this nonsense, and Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor hasn't actually saved anybody. Hasn't actually saved anybody. Nope. Hasn't actually done anything except cry a lot and say honey and be thirsty for a dude. Now, this is the first time I got so thirsty for a dude. And Jed, we had the dude, Ricky Steamboat, Ricky whatever.
September. Ricky September.
I keep calling Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. He was a hero for a part of this, because he came in and saved the chick I call Lollipop Peppermint to get her to safety because the Doctor couldn't save her because incompetence.
And they don't explain why the Doctor can't do anything. They really have zero explanation for it.
None. So he saves her, and he's a white savior. He's a white guy being a hero, and it shocked us in this. We were shocked. And then by the end of it, we're not shocked because we realized, he was a racist too. And there is evidence in there, knowing the ending, going back and looking at that, he was as racist as every other person there.
And the stands do not want to admit it.
And that's the thing. You were telling me about this. I want you to tell me about this. They are so wrapped up in their fantasies as soon as they see something, and they always sexualize it, that when it doesn't go the way it breaks them. So tell everybody what you told me before we got started here.
All right. So at a certain point in the episode, the Doctor and Ricky September talk to each other. They don't explain how, but for some reason they can now see through Pepper's eyes, the Doctor and Ruby.
It just reversed it for some weird reason. Yeah.
They don't explain how that works, but he's talking to Ricky September, and the Doctor's clearly infatuated by him. It was like, oh, he's cute. Oh, and smart too. Like the most aggressive, not flirting-esque, like more so references
Thirst.
to Woodby, but it was
It's
still
thirst.
very, very thirsty. And so because of that, the stands are like, oh my God, first day of Pride Month, and we get an episode with the Doctor being gay. Yay. So they put up Ricky September as this great character, this hero that we didn't know was going to be hero going into it. And then mourning, spoiler alert, his death at the hands of Pepper for a god-awful reason.
Yeah.
And it's just nonsense. But because he's kind of in this, not flirty relationship with the Doctor's thirsting for him, they refuse to recognize that. In that very scene where the Doctor's thirsting over him, he does one of the microaggressions that they called out Pepper for throughout the entire episode. So their little hero is just as racist as everyone else, but they refuse to believe it. I've even thrown a few comments at some of these stands on Twitter, thirsting over him and being so excited for him and just loving him as a character. And it's like, he was the hero we deserved. Just like, he's just as racist as everybody else. They're completely ignoring it. They can't accept that reality.
And that's the thing about stands. They make these shows that they adopt to virtue signaling for. They make it their entire world. You see it in Disney Star Wars. You see it in the MCU. You see it in some extent to what's left of the Kurtzman Trek group. They make this shit their entire world, and when it falls apart or breaks their heart, they lose their shit. They completely collapse because they can't handle the fact that it's either not as good. And we're going to get into some examples of fans rationalizing something good when we talk about Acolyte in a little bit. They are completely mentally disconnected, and they can't handle it, and they melt down, and then they don't want to talk about it, or they want to ignore it. Like Jess said, they don't want to talk to him about it. She said, hey, look, right here, he's just as racist. He's a racist too. No, he's my thirst trap. I have to love him. I want him to have my internet babies. And listen, that dude wasn't that hot either. He had a weird face.
He was wearing way too much makeup, so I can't say one way or another if he was or not.
Yeah, and it was just listen. This planet they were on was age 17 to 27. That dude was in his 30s. If a minute.
The little pop-up said he was 22. I think it was. There's no way.
There's
no way.
No way. But this whole thing is just an example of the fact that current Disney Doctor Who, it is a complete and total disaster. And there's no saving it. It was dead from the minute Ncuti Gatwa was cast. We know this now. It was dead. It's been dead since Shinballs took over. That's the sad part. And it was dying when Moffat was still there.
Mm-hmm.
But here we are. How many years later? 5 years later now? 4 or 5 years later?
From Chinball taking over?
Yeah.
6.
6. Wow. 6. Okay. Wow. Oh, I forget all those breaks that they took.
Mm-hmm. They took several breaks.
It stretched it out. It has Doctor Who has lost whatever zeitgeist it had. It's lost it. Nobody cares, and the numbers show it. Dragon Lee, you know off the top of your head how many people live in UK now? You know off the top of your head?
65, quite a lot, as far as I'm aware of.
65 million.
You're right there. Million. It's 67.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right there.
67 million people on a collection of islands in that little part right there. One big island, a couple small ones. And you can only get roughly right now between 2 and 3 million people to watch your arguably greatest show in history that was put out. Foundational show. Built the BBC. Really, when television became a thing in the 60s.
Mm-hmm. And in the 60s, it had higher viewership when there was 15 million less people in the country.
Yeah. So you can't get your home population to watch this. And whatever Disney Plus is watching on their numbers aren't real anyway, because minutes viewed is not a real metric. It's a bullshit metric created for streaming to pretend that something is maybe doing better than it really is.
Well, because these stands watch things over and over again so they can vomit and cry. So it's an illegitimate measurement just from that. If we didn't have the stands, you could glean something from it, but nothing very accurate ever, even in the best scenario. But these stands admit to watching it over and over again to own the chuds.
And what's a view then? What's a view?
On BBC iPlayer, it's 1 minute, I think.
All right. So maybe you turned it on by accident, or it auto-played it when you opened up your thing. And
there was even rumors a couple of years ago that it counts view as going to the page on iPlayer, like not even starting the video. Like even if you like look at it on the page on accident, click an ad and go to it or whatever, that counts as a view. I don't know if that's true, but that was a rumor a couple of years ago.
So there is no legitimate way to measure out in England. They're measuring right there, but you get outside of that, rest of the world, there's no legitimate way to measure it. This thing doesn't even track on Nielsen. Samba doesn't rate high enough for Samba to get a feel of households watching this. So this is something that these stands are going to latch onto and claim is the greatest thing ever, but the rest of the world really doesn't care. And the lack of evidence is the evidence. I know that sounds weird, but it is. Nobody, if you can't get enough people to get a metric for it, that kind of speaks the volumes that nobody's watching and nobody cares. And we don't care. Every week, 8:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. Who Cares Reviews. Join us. We got 3 more weeks. Next week, which is Bridgerton. It's gay Bridgerton.
We only have 2 more weeks.
You're right. Sorry, 2 more weeks. You're right. I was thinking 3 episodes, and I said 3, and I wanted to say
3 more weeks if we count the Christmas special later, written by.
I guess I wasn't counting that. I'm not going to try and defend myself. I'm going to own up. Yeah, I was thinking 3 episodes, 2 weeks, but I said 3 weeks. That's the closest.
I'm so glad it's 2 weeks left.
Yeah, so 2 more weeks. Next week is Bridgerton, where Ncuti Gatwa's going to have a pompadour. And he's going to,
I think he's going to have sex in the episode, like PG sex, obviously suggested. Yeah. That's my personal theory. Is yes, they're going to make out or something, but there's going to be clothes being ripped off, doors shutting, implications.
I say there's definitely going to be man kissing. There's definitely going to be man kissing going on in that episode. I say that, but
I can't wait. I can't wait to hear the complaints coming from the parents about this when that happens.
Hey, it's a kid's show. It's a kid's show. Family show, and so next week's going to be, it's going to be messed up. It's going to be stupid and weird, and then the following week is the 2-part finale, and then we're done until Christmas. So yay, Doctor Who is dead. R.I.P. Doctor Who. All right, hail to everybody who came in while we were talking Doctor Who. Excuse me. Oh my. Hail everybody came in while we were talking Doctor Who. Glad to have you here. Glad to see all of you people come in and join us. And hit that like button, and we hope you're enjoying what we've done up to now. So we've talked Doctor Who, and since we're talking how much people aren't watching stuff, I feel let's do a little where is it? Let's do a little box office roundup, okay? Leading into the second topic of today. So the summer box office is not off to a good start. Not at all. Because Garfield and Furiosa are the 2 biggest things out there right now. And they're not doing well. Here's Furiosa on its 170, I believe. 68, base 70. 170 budget in 3 weeks now? Hang on, let me see. Is it 3 weeks?
I think it's just second week.
Second week. Okay, second week.
Second.
In 2 weeks.
The movie you didn't mention is If. If has been in for 3 weeks, and it's beating Furiosa right now. So it's been in for an extra week, and it's still doing better.
Okay, wow. All right. So Furiosa is a flop. Now, there's conflicting opinions on this, so we're not going to get into that. But it's a flop.
Yeah.
We
haven't seen the movie, so we can't comment on the quality of the film, just the box office numbers.
I could comment on the fact that I hated Fury Road. I can comment on that. So that's why I wasn't interested in seeing this. The last thing I need is a prequel of a character in a movie that I hated. So last thing in that. But we've heard the thing. Some people say it's okay. Some people say it's crap. But that's besides the point. The evidence is in. It's a flop. $82 million in 2 weeks on a $170 million budget. This thing needed $400 million to break even. Not happening. It's going to lose a couple $100 million, if even, with the numbers that we're aware of. So flopped. And it's been beaten by Garfield. Another Garfield movie. There have been many Garfield movies at this point.
Really?
And Oh yeah, there's remember there
I only
was
know the Bill Murray one. That's
well,
the other
there's
one
two
I've
Bill
ever heard
Murray
of.
ones, and there's this one, and there's a bunch of regular animated ones from back in the day.
Yeah, there's a lot of
real
animated ones.
Yeah. But this one on its budget of $60 million, which I don't know if that's really a lot to spend on a movie like this. It's
That's
heading towards
pretty low. It might break even.
I mean, its break even's around 200 million, between 200.
If it keeps up this momentum, it'll break even, but not really make much profit.
Yeah, it's not going to make much profit. It's not doing. I mean, and it has nothing to do with Chris Pratt, nothing to do with Samuel L. Jackson. Chris Pratt didn't put butts in seats for Mario. Mario put butts in seats for Mario. It was just a nice thing that Chris Pratt did a good job.
Yeah,
but Chris Pratt's voice is not going to put butts in seats.
No.
So
I think it's mainly because that not much of this generation probably didn't know who and what Garfield actually is, unless it's the
Garfield's
films.
Garfield's not exactly.
He's not relevant for the younger generation, but like you said, Chris Pratt doesn't move the needle. He's not a movie star. I don't think we have any.
No.
And I grew up with the Garfield cartoons as a kid from the 80s that had reruns in the 90s, and of course my dad's a Garfield fan, so some of that came from him. So
Garfield is a generational thing that hasn't made it to this current generation. No. It just didn't. It didn't. When it stopped being a Saturday morning cartoon, Garfield and Friends, is when it lost its relevancy. Sad, because that was good quality children's programming back then. It was fun, entertaining, this and that. But Garfield it's making money. It might break even, but it has beaten Furiosa and everything else in this sluggish.
You got to do the better article, man. Do you see the one headline from last week?
No.
The headline
I just grabbed this one this morning. This is what I saw this morning.
The headline was literally Furiosa edges Garfield.
Oh, well, that was last week. That was last week.
Come on, you got to bring that up. Just.
You got to understand, we had a discussion, not in our show here, in Ballbusters, and certain people didn't know what edging was.
Oh, God.
They didn't know. We had to educate in that episode. Anyway, that's Ballbusters. We're decent and upstanding around here. But point is, we're off to this horrible, sluggish, where these movies are edging each other for barely first place, and might as well also be first place that is second place. There is no interest in any of these movies right now. Planet of the Apes, how's that doing?
Not well at all.
No, and I predicted that last year. I said that movie was going to flop, and people said,
"Well, it's made by Disney. No one cares about Disney films."
It wasn't even made by Disney. It was purchased by Disney. It was done when they made the deal. That thing's been sitting on ice for a year or so, a couple of years since the purchase. But either way, I said no one had the Planet of the Apes franchise. There's not enough interest to drive people to go see that movie. It flopped. There is no money coming in to any of these movies. People are not interested. They're going to be interested in one movie this summer, Deadpool, Wolverine. And that's because of people who will put butts in seats, Ryan Reynolds and Hugh Jackman, in those specific roles. But other than that, you have this complete collapse of movies. And what's the explanation? There are several. We've talked about this. People are out of the habit. People don't go to movies anymore. Streaming killed it. It's much easier to wait for it to come to your home where you're comfortable and all this stuff, and have a nice, relaxing evening with your family and not spend $200 to go to the movies. Second thing, they're not good. These movies just aren't good. No one's having there's no repeat viewing. That's why these movies aren't making money. There's no repeat traffic, no foot traffic going in and saying, kids aren't saying, take me to this again. We're not saying, hey, let's go see this again. It was so mind-blowing. People aren't going to go see that stuff again. And then there's a simple fact that politics is a large role to play in this. People are completely dissatisfied with how these, let's just say, actors are behaving. I mean, last week, Here's where I said we're gonna tightrope, tiptoe around little political stuff. Last week, Donald Trump's trial in New York ended, and the conviction came down. The celebrity response to that in Hollywood was retarded, to say the least.
What?
Retarded, to say the
I'm
least.
shocked.
Yes, don't be that shocked. It was retarded, to say the least. Let me see. I accidentally closed the window. Let me get it back here. I had it. Here it is. They lost their little TDS minds. And that is kind of the point right here. Their bad behavior, each and every one of these people, a lot of them talentless. I've always said Rob Reiner is a talentless hack. They say lots of things. And to go down through all the tweets and you get to one person, I don't even know who this person is, but they say, I scroll right by it. I think I scrolled right by it. Well, they say right here, I scrolled right by it. God damn it. F Donald Trump and F everybody who supports him. They say that. I think it's actually still loading. Either way, there it is. There it is. It was still loading. Not my fault. It was still loading. F Donald Trump and F those who support him. How do you think people are going to react to that? They're not going to go to the movies.
Yeah, I don't know who that Ethan guy is. I don't know
Neither
who
do
that
I.
is. But yeah, the response isn't going to be good because Hollywood is supposed to be about entertainment. I don't care what your politics are. Some of my favorite celebrities are the ones where I don't know their politics one way or another. And that's all we want. You can have these feelings about Trump behind the scenes, but this is terrible, terrible marketing. And their entire lives are built off marketing. That is the whole draw of a movie star, is to be in the marketing zeitgeist, be in the public zeitgeist to the point where their names can draw people to the cinemas, which means you can't be overly antagonistic to any large group of people. You can't offset a large point of your potential audience. And at this point, it looks like more than half of this country is pro Donald Trump. So you're alienating so many potential people. So you're doing a terrible job at being an actor, because part of your job is to be likable, generally likable. That is in just your day-to-day life. That is part of what it means to be a movie star. And these people seem to have all forgotten that. And that's one reason why Hollywood is failing, because all these actors, all these directors are failing so hard at the marketing half of their jobs. Some of them are still good actors. Some of them still do good performances, but their names won't draw anything. So their movies fail as a result.
And that's why it's all falling apart. And they don't even realize it. They're doing this strange cultish victory dance over all of this, claiming democracy is won, not realizing that, first of all, no, and again, we're walking the tightrope here. Democracy, nothing won. We saw a banana republic behavior with all this, and we're not going to get into it, but a lot of things are wrong with what went on in New York last week. And to then yell at your customer, tell them, we hate you. It's no wonder these movies don't make money. It's very simple. You haven't done your job. You haven't done your job, and now guess what? A lot of you aren't going to have job, because if these movies continue to not make money, if they continue to not pull in money, there are still people out there who are trying to make money on these projects. There are. These companies cannot sustain themselves if these movies continually come in under break even. I mean, look at Disney. Disney hasn't made money on anything in years in the theater. Nothing. I mean, and if they did, as we always like to say around here, it's enough to buy Bob Iger or Kevin Feige a sandwich.
Yeah,
Or,
it's barely breaking even isn't a financial success.
Yeah, and I say only those two because Kathleen Kennedy's never made money at Lucasfilm. She didn't have enough money to buy a sandwich or do Slave. None at all. Yes, I said that. And there is I don't want to say movement. It's just kind of an understood feeling of, we're done. People aren't even paying attention. People are going to YouTube. People are going to independent media. They're going to Iron Age. and they're having more fun because there's always something fresh and new. Or, as we refer to all the time, they're going bit to past. They're going to the past. Right now, with the exception of like this week, I watched. Well, that counts as past too. The movie Jed had us watch for this week, King's Speech for Drive-In. It's from 15 years ago, 14 years ago. It's not new. We went backwards. Have we ever watched anything? I think the closest new movie we've watched on Drive-In was Soho.
Soho, and yeah, that was 2019.
Closest.
So
closest thing we've watched. Everything else we've watched is old. Everything I watch on a regular basis is old. Newest things I watch is anime every few months when the season ends. And it's Japan. And people are going to Japan and South Korea for all their new stuff. Very rarely is there anything new out here in a Western entertainment that's good. And Hail Jay Fraser, $360 for £5. Hail Roundtable, did you know Star Trek Discovery finally ended this week? Me neither. Unfortunately, like any STD, this shows symptoms of long-term effects for Star Trek. And that is the point. Listen, STD it spread itself out there. A lot of people got infected by it, but it's a small infection. It's a small infection because nobody watched it. Nobody knew it ended. And Star Trek is another example of something that people are walking away with. I talked about this last week. You had one chance. Terry Matalas. One chance. Give him the reins of Star Trek Legacy. Give him the chance to do the show everybody actually wants to see, with Captain Seven, Jack Picard, Sydney LaForge, and put in some new people and build a new crew for the Enterprise G. John Delancey still ready to be Q. It was right there. Everybody's begging for it, but no. Kurtzman Trek, JJ Trek, they're just gonna keep marching down their horrible decisions. They just signed on a guy called Simon Kinberg, who's been involved in a lot of shit over the years, to reboot the JJ verse, the Kelvin timeline, before even Kelvin timeline begins. And then Kurtzman Trek keeps coming out with more crap after another. And I bring up Terry Matalas because Terry Matalas has signed on to a different show right now. He's doing I forget what it is at the moment. The MCU. Sorry, yeah, Visions. He's been signed on to the MCU for a Visions show.
Really? That's where he ended up? I did not know that.
Where they gave him money for a Vision show.
Well, they didn't want him around at Star Trek because he showed him up. People like what he made.
You just made my point. He's gone. That Vision show is going to wrap him up. It's coming out in 2026. He's involved with that for the next 2 years. So there is no chance for a good Star Trek. It's done. It's over. Brings it up. So it's not happening. And that's the point. People realize it. So they're going back. Jed knows this. You guys know this. What have I been doing what did I do for the past 2 months? I rewatched TNG. Happily rewatched TNG.
It's so good.
It was great. I had a great time. Did I nitpick a few episodes here and there? Of course I did. Nothing is perfect. Nothing is perfect. But it was there and it was still good. And in a few months from now, I'm going to do DS9 because I needed a break between Trek. Right now, I'm rewatching Mentalist right now. That's where I am. I'm rewatching Mentalist.
There's just so much Star Trek. Yeah, you do want to do it all, but you got to take.
Yeah, you got to take a break. You can't just go from one to the other. You'll get numb to it, and you won't be having as much fun. So
I think that's what happened with Mass Effect. I just played the Mass Effect trilogy for the first time, and I struggled through the third one for a lot of reasons. I think that was partially because I played all three back to back. So should have taken a break.
It's one thing. And yes, I just spilled all water all over myself, and you guys can all see it. It's disgusting.
Good job.
Yeah. Yeah, great. I'm a pig. Anyway, yeah, that's the thing. Unless you've done it before, the back-to-back can be daunting unless you've played through it before. And I think about Mass Effect, massive replay value. So you can go back to it and play it a different way and find enjoyment, play Shepard differently, romance different options, do events differently. And there's always joy to be found. I mean, I've replayed it, I think a total of like 7-8 times. in the past several since I really got into it.
Speaking of different options, someone in the Hellblade comments said that a game is not a game unless you have choices. Choices are what makes a game a game.
Great. Yeah.
I don't think
All right.
a lot.
I got to change my shirt. I can't sit here with this on. It's disgusting. I'll be right back, Jed. Keep talking.
All right. Well, like Adam's talking about, everyone's going to the past, and there's so much greatness to be found in the past. People are being introduced to new franchises, and I think that is the one positive thing about the current state of Hollywood. That's what I've been doing. When in my younger years, I was always focused on what the new thing was. Not quite to stand levels, but very much like always excited for the next thing. And then one day that just kind of stopped for me. I'm ashamed to admit it. It was later, timeline wise, than most people, earlier in life, but WandaVision is when I cut off the MCU. I was still excited for WandaVision when it came out, but I was a different boy back then.
You were a boy, not yet a man.
I was a boy. I was barely an adult when WandaVision was coming out. But there's so much good to be had. What I'm enjoying right now is the Expanse books. I'm tearing through them. They are long. They're about nearly 600 pages each. I'm just finishing the second one. They're very, very good. And the TV show for the first 3 seasons is great till Amazon Prime digs their claws in.
I've heard that towards the end, the final books kind of they lose their momentum and they lose.
Well, there is a 30-year jump between books 6 and 7. And that
I heard that they really I heard the authors are author. I think one or two of them. I think two. That they are left leaning, but it didn't really get through everything. But towards the end, they kind of let it bleed in too much. What I heard, I don't know.
That's what I heard about the show. I haven't heard that about the books, but I still have a long way to go.
Yeah. Anyways, but yeah, and that's the thing. So this is the point we're making, that all this Hollywood stuff, it's falling apart. They don't even know it because they abandoned their audiences. They said, screw you because you don't think what we think. And we're going to talk bad about you. And we're going to show what that means and how we're going to give you the biggest example at the moment. But before that, good sir, Algram the Strong for $99.99. Thank you, my friend. Pardon the pultacious prance and dilatory double step when nightly lamentation meets royal flagellation. A penance must be prized. A pox on injuries. Hail, Legatus. Yes, we saw you talking to chat. And Legatus, he's somewhere. I think he told me a couple days ago he was not going to make it today. But take care of your hands, Algram. Just you listen. Jed has a wrench. He can deal with something if something happens. Don't worry. Heal up, my friend. And thank you for the $99.99. Much appreciated, my friend. All right. So, but we just mentioned there is a biggest example this week of what it means to basically crap on your audience. And it's no surprise because they've done it before. Disney Star Wars, they love to preempt their shit with crapping on the fans. They have a history of it. And it gets worse and worse with every passing show. And here we are, 3 days away. Well, 2.5, because it's going to be Tuesday night from Acolyte. And what is let me set the stage first. You know where you guys know where I'm going, but let me set the stage. Last week, 2 weeks ago, previous week, they had the premiere of Acolyte. Everybody's doing their red carpet. They did it here. They went over to England. Everybody's happy dancing, pretending they know stuff. And you get brilliant clips like this one that I showed you in the opener. This guy.
Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star. How many people died on that? Well, Anakin just killed a whole Death Star.
We won't look at the whole thing. We get the point. He did that, and they keep this is the same guy that said at Star Wars Celebration there's no good and evil in Star Trek. Same guy. And Star Wars. Did I say Star Trek? God damn it.
It's okay. But yeah, that clip is great from the other parts of it because he starts to try to defend himself. The lady on the end's like, cut the video, cut the video.
Gatsby Keen's like, stop.
And then the girl in the middle's just shut up. They clearly know what's going on.
That was the first one. And then Gary, Nerderotic, he brought up a second clip where he did it again shamelessly, as though nobody said, don't do it. And that's the point. They don't get it. And it comes from the top. So they spend a week, and now those clips coming out, promoting the Acolyte, pretending he's greatest in the world. The shills have front-loaded their praise, and we are now a couple days away. So you're Kathleen Kennedy. You've had a week of positive marketing. What do? Oh, women in Star Wars have it hard because men are toxic. Bravo, KK. Bravo.
Well done.
Well done. Well done. Let's read her thing right here. Let's go down and read it right here. I think there it is. My belief is that it's too small for you guys. Hang on. There we go. My belief is that storytelling does need to be representative of all people, Kennedy told the publication, the New York Times, about her support for Hedlund's Acolyte vision. That's an easy decision for me. Apparently, she also cried when they were done filming it, saying, I believe the quote is, "Now that you've made a Star Wars show, make a Leslie show." Ugh.
Well, yeah, she was when she was reading the initial scripts, is what I heard.
Oh,
when
that
she
was from the
reading,
initial.
Yeah,
Okay.
she was reading the initial Acolyte scripts, and she said, "This is a very good Star Wars show, but I don't want a good Star Wars show. I want a good Leslie Headland show."
Okay, I botched the quote. Thank you, Jed.
But yeah, it was basically like, "This
yeah.
is too Star Wars. We don't like Star Wars. Do your
Yeah.
own gay fanfic."
Oh my god. And she's done that. We're gonna get that in a second. You can see my tab. I got a lot of stuff here. I got a lot here. Operating within these giant franchises now with social media and the level of expectation, it's terrifying. I think Leslie has struggled a little bit with it. I think a lot of the women who step into Star Wars struggle with this in a bit more because of the fan base being so male dominated. They sometimes get attacked in ways that can be quite personal. Jed, I thought the Force was female.
I thought it was too. That was the whole push, is that the Force is female. This is a girl brand now, and this is, whether or not you realize, is admitting failure, because her whole goal was to make this a female brand. And if this is still happening, if it's still male dominated, she failed. It's not true that that's why these people are being criticized. How many personal attacks are done against Daisy Ridley?
None.
As far as I'm aware, none, or
None.
middlingly so. It was
None.
about Rey's character being god awful.
Yep.
And they're never going to recognize what the problem is. Similar to the Doctor Who stands, they never take self-criticism very well. They have to divert it over to, oh, you're just racist and sexist and attacking people personally. That's not what's happened any of these times. Not a single one, as far as I'm aware.
Not a single one.
Even in the past of Star Wars with the Phantom Menace, Jar Jar Binks, it was about racism. How many people watched Phantom Menace and knew that guy was black? I'm guessing nobody.
I didn't know till 10 years later that Ahmed Best was black. I didn't even look at who played Jar Jar Binks. All I knew is Jar Jar Binks was annoying, and I didn't care. I didn't know who Ahmed Best was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they don't care what the truth is. They're going to rewrite reality. They're going to rewrite history to serve their own narrative, to make it seem like any criticism is for superficial and evil reasons, not for legitimate ones. So yeah, she's admitting failure without realizing it, and this is the same old thing we've seen. Completely inaccurate. Who's been criticizing these women for being women?
It's and they rely then on the stand base to rewrite history. I mean, there were a whole bunch of tweets when I made this video at the beginning of the week. They are going back. They'll put up Reva. They'll put up Daisy Ridley Rey. They'll put up Rose Tico. They'll put and now they'll put up Mai. And of course, you brought it up yourself just now. When we talk about these characters, we're talking about Reva. We're talking about Rey. We're talking about Rose Tico. We're talking about, in a couple short days, Mai. We're not talking about Moses Ingram. We're not talking about...
when we do, it's in direct response to their comments.
Exactly.
Like, Ridley's never said anything crazy, so I have nothing personally against Daisy Ridley whatsoever. Moses Ingram, on the other hand, has spouted off her mouth in stupid ways, so I criticize her for those specific comments.
And no one, and the greatest fake story of all time, everybody drove, what's her name? I just had it, Kelly Marie Tran, off of the internet because of Rose Tico. No, she left the internet of her own accord, because
she's admitted to, but they kind of try to bury that.
They bury that. She didn't, and she didn't leave because she was attacked. She left because the intensity of being involved with Star Wars was too much for her.
Which is fair. It is a large increase in your social media presence. People are aware of who you are to an insane degree. I mean, I'd never heard of her prior to. I doubt many people had. So that is a very understandable psychological reaction. Even if it were wholly positive, there are people who have been in good roles and good movies and well praised to have similar reactions. So that's very fair.
And no one has said no one ever attacked Calamari Tran. They attacked Rose Tico, who's a horrible character. And in the coming days, Mai, played by Amanda Stenberg, is going to be attacked because she's probably a bad character. Now, Amanda Stenberg talks some shit about pronouns and gender and stuff.
Which character is that? I don't know any of these people's names.
She's the one. She's the Acolyte. She's the one.
She's the Acolyte. Okay, she's the one from Hunger Games. The Acolyte.
Yeah. So now she's already waded into the whole gender battlefield. So
she's non-binary.
She's not binary, but walking around in dresses where her tits are hanging out. So yeah, good job on that. Way to be disingenuous and make us realize you're not fitting the role you're slotting yourself into when you're sticking your ass and your tits out on the red carpet. I'm sorry, you're not. You're a girl. You're not non-binary. But that's my point. When you start wading into this the culture war shit, not just pop culture war shit, we're going to talk to you about that. And we're criticizing you about that. We're not attacking you because you played a character in Star Wars. When we're criticizing the characters because they suck. Reva sucked. Rey sucks. Rose Tico sucks. And I'm 99.9% ready to say, I'll leave that little wiggle room, is going to suck. I've seen enough of the footage already. It's going to suck. But no, we're all toxic males. We're all angry incel nerds making life miserable for women in Star Wars. Yeah, that's fake news. Never happened. But it doesn't matter because that they're going to make sure that when the Acolyte fails, it's because toxic males. It's because Leslie Headland says, I know how frustrating. Make it bigger again. Sorry, I lowered it. I know how frustrating some Star Wars storytelling in the past has been. I stand by my empathy for fans, but I want to be clear. Anyone who engages in bigotry, more racism, or hate speech, I don't consider a fan. So now Leslie Headland is the arbiter of who's a fan.
Well, these people, we see this every single time. The old adage, you accuse your enemy of what you're doing yourself. They always say, oh, the male-dominated, racist, and sexist Star Wars fans are gatekeeping the fandom. That's never happened from the people they claim to be racist and sexist who aren't actually. They've never kept. They might say, hey, you're stupid. They might have like opinions about things, but that's not the same as gatekeeping. It is impossible for a fan to literally gatekeep someone from a franchise, especially these days when everything's on streaming. But they are the ones gatekeeping, saying you are not an actual fan because I say so. We've seen this in this product. We've seen that with Doctor Who recently. You're not a fan unless you love Shudigatwa. You've never liked Doctor Who unless you love Shudigatwa. And it's, again, always accuse your enemy of what you're doing yourself. And I don't know what she means by has it been bad in the past. I stand with empathy. I'm guessing she's meaning the stands. I think what she means is the stands and the crazy leftist weirdos who have problems with how white Star Wars has been in the past and whatnot. She has empathy for those people who are turned off from past Star Wars or something like that. I think that's what she means, which is completely an inaccurate thing to say, especially with George Lucas coming out to address the, oh, Star Wars is all white narrative. But yeah, she's having empathy for the stands who didn't watch any of these movies when they came out. We're never fans until they got gay and woke and shit.
Yeah, well, listen, remember, it's pointed out in this article right here, reminded that, first of all, this character right here, she's going to be the lesbian leader of a witch cult.
I'd laugh when they say a lesbian character. There's going to be more. There's going to be more than one.
But we are reminded for the simple fact, and I can't play it because I've got the, this tab is on Firefox, but this is the clip where she talked about how she made this movie in the same idea of Frozen meets Kill Bill because Frozen was so important to her because it was part of her queer identity as a kid that two sisters could have gay love together.
Which seems like it might be happening in The Acolyte, quite literally.
We don't know, but it's her whole purpose to make this shit very gay. Very, very gay. And they're not even hiding it. When you come out and say that, and this is the same chick in Star Wars Celebration who talked about, my character is a strong, powerful woman in charge, and Star Wars is needs to be woman dominated, that kind of shit. And now here's her character gonna be gay. What does that have to do with anything for a story?
Yeah,
Nothing.
it has nothing whatsoever. And just like that clip we showed earlier of the guy who has no understanding of Star Wars saying Anakin blew up the Death Star, these people have they've never watched Star Wars, or if they have, they've never paid attention, because there have been women in power since the very first one. Leia was a leader of the rebellion, one of the most respected ones. I don't know, she wasn't number one, I don't think. But
No,
she was,
Mon Mothma. Well, the thing is, the rebellion had different cells.
Yeah,
there were different cells,
so
and each cell had a leader. And Mon Mothma was the leader of the biggest, strongest cell, and Leia was essentially her one of her lieutenants.
So that's 2 women at the top of the rebellion in the original trilogy, and then of course Padme, Phantom Menace, queen of an entire planet. That's pretty high up. So there've been women
elected,
in power.
Elected queen. The people chose her over other queens. But you get that kind of stuff. I'm gonna shrink this real quick because I want to play this clip right here, where we're going to get it just to show you that you're trying to promote this stuff and they think they're being smart in their promotion when in fact you're not, because you're showing how bad it is. They give us a look because first they yell at us and tell us how bad we are. Then it says, oh, look how brilliant we are. Don't you want to see our choreography? We're getting a behind the scenes look at the choreography. This is brilliant. We have to watch this. Let's look at this. And we're watching this only because other streams have already gone over the Leslie Headland, Dave Filoni interview. So we're not going to bore you by making you rewatch that. We'll give you something we haven't seen yet.
And action. If I had been told by Carrie-Anne Moss, if I had been told that I was going to fight Carrie-Anne Moss,
doesn't that look so good, guys?
That looks great.
That's just cringe.
It's so stiff, and you can see it's choreographed. Here's what separates good choreography from shit choreography. Brilliant choreography doesn't look staged.
Mm-hmm.
This looks staged. That they have to hit these specific moves to even have anything happen, because none of these people have training. Listen, Carrie-Anne Moss was great in tight leather in The Matrix, but she didn't know Kung Fu in The Matrix.
And a lot of her famous scenes are CGI.
Yes. And Amanda Stenberg, she didn't know shit either. So let's keep going.
I probably would have had a heart attack.
Cut.
I hope that's the music during this fight scene. I hope, and I'm going to find out in 2 days. I'm going to find out. They get they do the little tambourine drum thing. I hope so. It's going to be terrible.
Ice. Training for the Acolyte was really challenging. Today I feel a tad like a truck hit me. It was
she didn't give a shit.
No,
she got a paycheck.
Whatsoever.
She got a paycheck.
She's just glad she's working again after Revolutions or whatever. What was the newest one?
I didn't watch it. I don't
know. The newest Matrix movie, I don't remember what it's called, but that one brought her back into the public zeitgeist.
Yep.
It's very important to me that the show feel visceral and
real quick, we saw her title right there, and it's still a problem at Disney Plus where they don't have showrunners. Showrunners are important. There's a reason we've had showrunners for these franchises forever. And there has to be someone in charge directing everything. And that's basically what she's doing. But
she is the showrunner without title.
It is important to have that figure. And just saying creator, writer, and director isn't encompassing enough.
Well, you know where they did this here? So you can see, look, she's a woman. She's the creator, the writer, and the director. She wears so many hats. She's so brave and bold that she gatekept for Harvey Weinstein. That's just, you know what I've seen lately? For one of our favorite ones, good old Suggs. He had the bad take to come out and say that we are all toxic males for attacking Leslie Headland and other women, and how her association with Harvey Weinstein. She was only there for a year. She's only there for a year. She couldn't know what was going on. Talk about bad take. Talk about not realizing what you're talking about. The fact, for the simple fact that the evidence that she sold her story of being his gatekeeper to get deeper into Hollywood.
Yeah,
she
she
sold him out.
confessed. So
they're so stupid. They think they're so smart. They think they're owning, as we say, the chuds. They think they're getting one over on us, and they're not. I had a brilliant one when, in response to the dude, Anakin killed the Death Star. One of my favorite ones, and I made a concerted effort in the past 48 hours to try and get blocked by him. Says, "Oh, what do you think these MFers are going to do when they find out Alec Guinness and Harrison Ford didn't know anything about Star Wars?" Hey, dumbass. Sir Alec, it was just an acting job. He didn't give a shit. That was 40 years ago, and it wasn't even Star Wars yet. And two, Harrison Ford is famous for 40 years not giving a shit.
That's his whole brand.
Famous for it. And thinking that they're getting one over on us, that they're outsmarting us, and they're so clever, it's retarded.
Are we going to talk more about that clip later? Because I had a few thoughts on that one.
Which one?
Just the response of, like, it doesn't matter that the actor doesn't know that Luke was the one who blew the Death Star. Okay, we'll
do it right now. Do it right now.
Okay,
In the middle
so I've seen a lot of people trying to defend that and saying actors don't need to. Even people on our side, like Star Wars Theory, saying he doesn't care that this guy doesn't know. And I think that's a flawed perspective from all these people, the stands or the actual fans and real people saying stuff like that. It's a sign of care. The example that I always show is Matt Smith when he took on the role of the Doctor in Doctor Who. He had no idea what the show was. He'd never watched the show. He wasn't a fan. But as soon as he realized he was getting cast, he put in the work. He watched the entire show. He did his research to the fact that he knew more than a lot of people on set. He became an expert. That might be a little bit too strong of a word, but he educated himself. Whereas people like Jodie Whittaker, she never put in the effort. Same with Ncuti Gatwa. They never put in the effort to know what came before. Only me. And that shows that they don't actually care about this role. They don't actually care about this franchise. And that comes through. If an actor cares about their role, the quality of their performance increases substantially, and audience members can tell that. And like I said earlier, part of the job of an actor is marketing. And so being likable, seeming like you actually care about what you're doing, goes a long way. So yes, it's not as important if people saying like it's more important that the writer and director is fan of Star Wars and understands Star Wars. Yes, of course, that is more important. But I think every major player in these productions and these franchises should have a good idea, and it shows that they care about their job, that they have good work ethic if they try to overcome what ignorance that they have when they become cast. Like, I don't blame anyone just hearing, oh, there's a Star Wars audition, going to it because you've heard of Star Wars and its fame. That's fine. But as soon as you're cast, you need to put in the work to know one of the 6 movies. You don't need to tell me what happened in a comic book or a video game 30 years ago. I'm not talking that depth, but watching the first Star Wars movie and being able to accurately describe what happened, I think that's at least the bare minimum. So this is an extreme circumstance with this guy. And
you're absolutely right. I've been saying the same things for the past couple of days. It's not about the fact that he doesn't know it. It's about the fact that everybody above him doesn't care that he doesn't know it, and actively push the culture, the idea of F George Lucas's Star Wars. It's an active feeling in current day Lucasfilm Disney. They don't like what Star Wars used to be before they bought it in 2012. They are actively push it all aside. Leslie Headland was given the green light to do this. You said to yourself, Kathleen Kennedy said, now don't write a Star Wars show, write a Leslie Headland show. Dave Filoni, classic butcher of Star Wars lore, has allowed her to do all this stuff. She is rewriting the rules of the Force. There's an article out there, I don't have it up, but it came out the other day, or a blurb, that when she had to first convince him to do the fake lightsaber whip that we're going to get to experience, but then there's also another lightsaber that never existed that she made them create for the show. She doesn't care. She doesn't know. And the fact that she doesn't know, and she's at the top of this show.
She can't even name her favorite Star Wars film. I doubt she could list all 9 Star Wars films, even now, even after that horrible interview.
She was at a premiere for one, and she didn't even know what it was. The Star Wars. I mean, I know she says she doesn't say the Star Wars, but that's the joke. The Star Wars. I want to live in the Star Wars in perpetuity. It's ridiculous. And she reveals over and over again that she's a fake fan. Knights of the Old Republic. Knights of the Old Republic 2 introduces fantastic villains, especially one Kreia, who is a Sith. and has a name, Sith name, Darth Treya, like as the betrayer, Darth Treya. But whenever Kreia comes up with fans, we say Kreia. No one says Darth Treya. But what does Leslie Headland do? Oh, my favorite villain is from KOTOR, Darth Treya. That's who I based the villains on in this show, Darth Treya.
She read a Wikipedia article. Then.
Exactly. Or somebody read it for her. Somebody read it for her and told her how it happened. But that's my point. She continues to be a fake fan. And there are people out there. I had comments in a video this week saying, she knows the EU. And that's the next clip I have. She knows the EU. She's so well versed. She understands how it's going. She liked Clone Wars. She liked Clone Wars, so she's a real Star Wars fan. No, she's not. And her idea of not caring about Star Wars, it filters down where you have the dude come and say Anakin killed the Death Star. It's not just that he doesn't know, it's the fact that nobody cares that he doesn't know, and they actively push a culture of not caring.
Important to me that the show feel visceral and that the fight sequences feel jaw-dropping.
There's very high energy, high octane stunt work.
We've seen these clips. This is not high octane. This is the cheesiest wire type old school Hong Kong kung fu movies you can get. And back then it's good cheesy cringe because they know it's shit and they're just hamming it up. They're taking this shit seriously. They think they're putting on choreographed art. They have said that I've seen the shill say it's the best lightsaber choreography ever.
How can you say that when the prequels exist? I don't love the prequels. I like them. I enjoy them, but their lightsaber combat is the next level.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Yeah, it's
especially in Revenge of the Sith with the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan and Mustafa. The amount of training they must have had to do.
Yeah. And they believe this stuff because they gotta believe it. Otherwise, their whole world falls apart.
What they've done to create these fights is insane.
We took the heavy martial arts, the hand-to-hand combat, all the different styles, and mixed them together to build these sequences.
Oh.
There's no impact to these. Like, even with the sound effects, I don't get the sense that she is actually hitting anyone. There's no transfer of energy. There's no strength shown. Because I doubt she has any. Can she, pick up anything? I wouldn't be surprised if her lightsaber's too heavy for her.
Well, there's this whole Disney Star Wars thing about heavy hilts for lightsabers. It's this whole meta for it now in Disney Star Wars. It's retarded.
Yeah, that's their explanation for the fight in A New Hope.
Yep. And now, but here they have them talking. We've mixed together all these martial arts. No wonder it looks like garbage. Certain types of martial arts have their specific forms and they're supposed to flow together. If you hodgepodge it, all of them into one thing, no wonder this looks like a disastrous, poorly designed mess. And Jed, you're absolutely right. There's no impact to any of this. It's all woo. That's all it is. A couple throws here and there. There's no tension in these fights, and then saying force kung fu, I'm a force push you. Give me a break, dude.
We use Taekwondo, karate, Krav Maga, Western boxing.
It is some of the
Did they just say they combined boxing?
Yes.
With Krav Maga? This is ridiculous. This shows you
Yord.
Yord, yeah, that's his name, Yord.
Yeah. It doesn't sound like Star Wars.
Not. Well, I told you what they called the new Wookiee Jedi they're premiering in this, right? I've told you the name. Kel Naka is his name.
Oh, it's a he? I thought it was a she. I
think it's a he. Well, there's Kel Naka. He's getting his own comic book. He's getting his own stories. Kel Naka. That is the most low effort Wookiee name I've ever heard. They don't even care. They don't even try.
Craziest fights.
is very powerful.
Dude, go back to Squid Game. Just go back to Squid Game. What are you doing? And there she is with her daggers, and she's going to get a lightsaber, steal one eventually. I don't know.
This is pretty special.
So there you go. Acolyte that's the behind the scenes look at the choreography of the Acolyte. That is the most boring, uninspired combat I've ever seen. Ever. And we mentioned before, Leslie Headland, they want to pretend she's a guru of Star Wars now. They want to pretend that. And they say something like this, and it hurts me inside because I know they're so full of shit, and I don't want to see anything else destroyed.
Could a character like Yoda or other familiar faces from the Star Wars world show up in The Acolyte?
Can you imagine?
I can.
Can you imagine if they were like, no problem, you can use Yoda? Not a big deal.
That's a great screenshot, Leslie.
Oh, I hate her voice. I really do. Can you imagine? If I could use Yoda. Now, I've heard rumors that Yoda was off limits for this. I've heard rumor. I still think they'll shtup him in at the end.
He's in it. I'm almost certain of that.
The very end, they're going to shtup him in there and try and diminish him even more than he has been in the stuff.
The rumor I heard is that the black guy who said Anakin destroyed the Death Star is Mace Windu's ancestor, because black guys all are related, apparently. That's actually something we heard with Finn. All the stands were like, I hope he's Mace Windu's grandson.
Do they realize that everybody in this show is going to die to try and even make their timeline work?
Oh, I don't even know if they're all going to die. I don't think she knows enough to know that they have to all die.
I mean, they have to.
Does it sound like she knows?
Let's see.
Go for it.
Yeah.
No, there is not. We are pulling characters from the High Republic and characters from EU. But
Characters from EU. That may confirm what I've always predicted, that they were going to take stuff from the Old Republic and just jam it into this timeline that they've created, therefore butchering it forever.
Well, these people we always see, they have no sense of scale. It's what we saw with Rings of Power as well, is these events, which should take place over thousands and thousands of years, get condensed to a few weeks, or in this case, 100 years before Phantom Menace, and that makes them fundamentally not work. And they don't understand that. They just think, oh, close things make more sense. When some things, especially in the sense of a history, they need to span a breadth of time.
Exactly. These things happen. Things take time. But you know what? These shills in the stands don't care. They don't care. We got the first release of the shills. We love it so much because the ones that were actually allowed to go to the red carpet and see the first 4 episodes in the theater in LA. But now, for the past few days, we've had the second wave. The loyal social media water carriers are getting their stuff, or in this case, the loyal Mary Sue stooges. We'll just say, I'll use a nice word. I won't use a word. We all remember Rachel Leishman when I covered her a couple months ago when she tried to tell us she knew about Star Trek. Talking about, I basically shitting on real Star Trek to prop up JJ and Kirsten Trek. Well, now she decides to weigh in on this. The Acolyte is so Star Wars original, unique, yet shining a new light on the galaxy and returning to the franchise to its roots. It feels like a love letter to George Lucas's creation while being its own thing, and I am obsessed. At most, word salad. She's seen at most 4 episodes out of the 8. She said nothing here. Absolutely nothing. Word salad is the perfect description. But they don't care.
I doubt she's even seen it. I bet she just wants to seem cool, like she's hip.
Maybe.
Like, oh, I got special access.
Maybe. Either way. But now here are the ones coming out. And my favorite is this one. This is a particular... I'm going to pause this because the GIF will drive me crazy. This one here is a particularly annoying stan here on X Twitter. Always posting stuff always walking around claiming she loves everything under the sun. Lucky to see episodes 1 through 4 of The Acolyte, which means as a loyal social media stan, probably got the episodes sent to her.
Well, just look at how many people are engaging on this post.
Yeah.
I don't see these people as being even on Disney's radar, unless this is the best that Disney stands can offer, is a 269 liked post about, hey, I got special access. That means I have knowledge that you don't. Like, those things usually do better than this. I don't think these people actually have any access.
But even if they got it from somebody else, I mean, she might have gotten it from somebody else. I will say she's seen it, because I'm going to read you here. This is Cope to the maximum, and I want your opinion on this. With lush locations, captivating creatures, and soon-to-be fan-favorite characters, this thrilling adventure is a slow burn that takes us to unique parts of the Star Wars galaxy never before seen. I'm ready to unravel more of the mystery. To me, this sounds like massive Cope, that she saw something that was not really that good, so she's reaching for any sort of positive description she can come up with to try
not to say the word boring.
Yes, thank you. That's what I hear when I read.
I see more word salad. That doesn't mean anything.
That's part of it. That's part of the equation. The stands, and she's just an example of all of them coming out. They are working hard to make this sound brilliant, knowing full well in their black little stan hearts that in 54 hours from now, when it drops and I get my hands on it and Disparu gets his hands on it, when we all get our hands on it and start reviewing it, it's going to be ripped apart, frame by frame, word by word, moment by moment. And it's 2 episodes. So that's going to take up most of my Wednesday reviewing this piece of garbage. And it's not going to be pretty. It's not going to be pretty, because if they're doing the 2-episode drop thing to pump up the minutes viewed, to try and say, oh, biggest Disney Plus Star Wars premiere of 2024, or some shit like that. They're going to work so hard, and that's the way it is. They are desperate to hide it from everything, and
they know it's going to be really. They know it's going to be really, really bad, and they don't want to admit it out loud.
And they don't want to, because here's the thing: look what they've spent on this. $180 million for 8 episodes. That's more than what was spent on Furiosa. And yet, is there any sort of money coming back for this type of investment in this show?
Oh, God, no. That's one of the biggest problems with the streaming shows investing so much goddamn money into these episodes and these series, because there's no way you can get return on investment. That's why the TV show model was so much better, and why ad revenue is important. That is a legitimate way to equate minutes watched into money for them, not into actual, viewership metrics. But minutes watched is important for ad revenue. Disney doesn't have ad revenue right now, as far as I'm aware. And there's no way that people are subscribing to Disney Plus for this. Anyone who's going to watch The Acolyte already has Disney Plus. Maybe it's free for them through Verizon. Maybe they got it for $1.99. But there's no way someone is creating a Disney Plus account for this. So there's going to be no influx of revenue for this show. So it is literally impossible for them to make a dime off of this. There's no way that they'll ever recoup the investment that they put in. And just like with movies, these ad campaigns are on par with the movies ad campaign. So just like Furiosa, we'd be looking at something like $450 million, 450, I'd say, for The Acolyte to break even if it were in theaters. There's not a TV show on the planet on a streaming service without ads that I believe could get half that.
And Jay Fraser, right? These are 30-minute episodes. These are going to be short episodes, probably really 22-minute episodes, 23-minute episodes. When you add in, what happened last time? Here's our 5-minute credit scene, all that stuff. There's really going to be nothing here in terms of.
It's
content.
just a 3-hour movie.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just a 3-hour movie.
Exactly, and it's going to make no sense. It's not going to bring in any money, and
half of it's going to be filler.
Half of it's going to be flashbacks.
It's all filler.
It's all going to fall apart. And you mentioned though, Who is this made for? Who is anybody getting the Disney Plus for this? No, because the people who have Disney Plus, and I tiptoe back into the politics once again, because when the Trump conviction happened, the Disney stands, well, this is what they were doing. Nubs is celebrating that Trump has been found guilty. This is what was circulating. And they're all so happy. And they get so mad. And it's like, Trump's pro MAGA. No, he's not. Shut up. These are who they have. This is their fan base. Deranged leftist Marxists. People who have the pronouns in their bio. Star Wars.
Every single time.
And Jed, notice what this person likes. Well,
Makes sense.
This hurts me a little bit right there. That hurts me. But then again, there are useful idiots everywhere. And I'll be saying, Jewish leftist idiots, useful idiots, they're the worst of the worst. I will say that without shame. They have been led down the primrose path of Marxist communism. My own grandfather was a communist, but he would have changed his mind when he saw it didn't work. He would have done it.
Did he learn nothing from Fiddler on the Roof?
Fiddler on the God damn it!
I'm being an ass. I'm sorry.
But they are the worst of the worst. The leftist Jews are terrible. But Star Wars, High Republic, Jet, Doctor Who. Are you surprised?
Mm-hmm. Oh,
DC Comics says leftist. He, him, paid by Disney to promote Star Wars. That's not true. That's their thing. A lot of the people who go after these people say they're all paid shills. That's them leaning into it. But this is how they feel. They all feel like this. They all play the pronoun game. Every one of them. We mentioned one of our favorite Suggs. There's let me go back to I'll go to my own thing right here real quick. I'll bring it up because it's one of the last things I reply to. This guy right here. This guy is he's linked to the hip. He's joined at the hip to Suggs. Just a reminder, Star Wars is for everyone, and everyone should be able to feel represented in Star Wars. I'm so happy part of such a kind and inclusive community. Yeah,
it was always for everyone. It was always for everyone until
Always.
this lot came along.
It was before, and my reply was before your mom shat you out. It was for everybody long before you were crapped into this world, kid.
Well, that's the thing. Good storytelling is for everyone. Good stories can appeal to anyone. Like every one of us can say that we like a story with a protagonist that doesn't look, sound, or have a history similar to ours.
Yeah.
It's just called maturity. Storytelling is for everyone. Well, good storytelling is for everyone. It might not be targeted. You might not be in the target audience, and that's okay. A target audience can literally not be everyone. There has to be a target audience for it to be a good story. But you can choose to be part of that target audience if you want in a certain respect. You can still read it. It's not gatekept. It's still for everyone. Good storytelling is for everyone.
But for these people, the storytelling has to be sexual, has to be gender, has to be race. That's all they care about. They don't understand that a character is not defined by these traits. They simply are or aren't. But they don't care about that. They have to stand up a virtue signal. That's why this guy, Suggs, they're all like this. All they care about is showing how much of an ally they are. Let it all be damned. Let it all be destroyed. But you know what? They actually love this garbage. They love. Oh, that's not my one. They actually love this shit. They take every opportunity to say, I love George Lucas' Star Wars, but then we'll always put it down to elevate Disney Star Wars. It's just the way it is. And here we are. It's very clear to see when they put out something like that one I show where they're using their weirdo kid show, the weirdo children's Jedi show, to celebrate the conviction.
Is that what that guy was from?
Yes. He's there. He's a little furry retard Jedi from that show, apparently, that they're all obsessed with. They all thirst over him in a weird way. It's very strange. It's very, very strange. He's like their mascot or something like that. I don't know. But you understand what I'm saying? It's not surprising that as soon as this happens, they're using, because the people they worship use Star Wars as a vehicle, they use it as a vehicle for their politics, their ideology, their agenda. They're the ones that turn Star Wars and every single franchise we've talked about today into agenda-driven entertainment. That's it. That's it. We never did that. We never took these things we loved and put them on ideological display. We never said Star Trek has to represent my conservative values, because Gene Roddenberry was a progressive, but he was a classical liberal progressive where he believed in all that stuff. And he happened to be very wise in how he portrayed these things. He didn't hit your head with it. Yes. He had talent. He got talented actors.
We would hate this just as much if it was a different type of politics.
Yeah.
I don't want any politics in these forms of media. Like I said, this is entertainment. Yes, you can have thoughtful entertainment. You can have stuff that makes you think. Escapism isn't just turn your brain off action type. It is just thinking about something that isn't yourself. And that is the most important part of entertainment, is escapism. And I would be just as vehemently against modern Disney Star Wars if Donald Trump was making it and it was all about, hey, vote for Trump. I'd be just as upset and just that much against it.
Classical political themes.
Themes are fine.
That's fine. Yeah, I mean, talking about totalitarianism, talking about empires versus republics and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. But I don't need real world shit shoved down my throat. That's the difference. I don't want it from anything. I want to forget about everything when I tune in, turn on, watch, read, play, anything. That's why the things that are successful are not even going near the horrible stuff. Jiggly video game boobs unite the world. People are happy. People are fun. And then come out with a DEI thing, and quickly everybody goes, screw you. We're not watching this. We're not playing this. But they don't care. They don't care one bit. They're not interested in it at all. And in the end, the Acolyte, going back to that, there was no goodwill built up with their positive marketing campaign. There was no goodwill. This thing was trashed completely. But now, with this, I know I'm more fired up than ever to tear this apart. All this has done is fired me up. You haven't won heart. You're not winning hearts and minds. So I'm gonna rip this thing apart in a couple of days, and we'll talk about the fallout likely next weekend. I'm sure once we tear it apart, there will be discussions of how the articles are going to come out, how we're all bigots and sexist and toxic. It's what's going to be, how we're phobic, because it's going to be homophobic, transphobic. I don't know. It's all going to be there, all going to happen, and we'll talk about it for sure. And I can't wait. I'm going to enjoy it. I hope you guys tune in because reviews I get the most fun when I do the reviews. Most fun. All right, we got one more thing here to talk about. There was. And I'm talking about this mainly because we have a little time left, and also we are promoting our own little fun step back into the world of Rings of Power. This is Mordor Country panel show we put up around here. We have a good time melting down. That's how bad it is. But they decided to bring in Tom Bombadil to Rings of Power. I mean, none of us here are Lord of the Rings experts. I'm a casual at best. We will endeavor to bring on hardcore members to the panel like we did last time around who can add color commentary to what is going on wrong. But we all know who Tom Bombadil is. He is a powerful being theorized. There's a lot of theories around Tom Bombadil. There's nothing solid about Tom Bombadil except for one thing. He doesn't care about what goes on around him because of his mentality. Carefree, happy-go-lucky, above it all.
Yeah.
Isn't even affected by the One Ring, throws it over his shoulder, whatever. Can't be counted on for anything because he has his own ideas, his own intentions and desires, and they are frankly frivolous from what I understand.
And I'm apparently in the minority of people who are familiar with Tolkien. I'd say I'm about where you're at, casual, maybe high casual. I in the minority saying that I think it's good he wasn't in the Peter Jackson.
Oh, I agree. I agree with you. It would have thrown off the rhythm, the narrative. There's no time. There's no room for dancing naked hobbits in Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. There's no room for that.
Oh, I would say I think probably the only other reason why he wasn't in the Peter Jackson films was because Peter Jackson probably wanted to carry on with the films being serious, and Tom Bombadil would have been a comic relief moment, and probably would have appreciated him. I don't think.
The reason Peter Jackson gave is one that I agree with, and it's that scene that you mentioned, Adam, in his interaction with the Hobbit. He casually takes the ring, flips it off like he can touch it. He's just so casual to him. He's not affected by its power whatsoever. And that is counterintuitive to what this story was trying to set up, and would be confusing to audience members who weren't familiar with Tom Bombadil, seeing like Gandalf can't even touch it without freaking the fuck out in that earlier scene in Bag End. Like it would have discounted the power of the ring, and that was the whole point, is that this is a scary thing that even Frodo is barely able to do with the purest heart. Like I think that's a great reason. There are other reasons. I think the comic relief is another great reason. He had some comedy like with Gimli, but Tom Bombadil would have been too far. But I really like that explanation. Is it kind of trivializes the ring to the people who don't know who Tom Bombadil was. It gives that impression to the uninitiated.
Yeah, and here we are, Rings of Power. They worked out some deal to get their hands on him, I guess, over at Amazon. You know what he's going to be? He's going to be an interventionist. That is
he doesn't do that.
He doesn't
do that. He doesn't stick. He doesn't do that. He doesn't stick his nose into things. He keeps out of it. Yeah.
I think you're breaking up there. Go ahead, Jed.
Oh, sorry.
I also, this is a continuation of the terrible costuming design of the Rings of Power. Tom Bombadil is described as an incredibly colorful, bright, vibrant character. Like he wears mainly like bright yellow is his primary color in the illustrations from the books. He's supposed to be like, wow, oh my god, you're blinding me. And this is what they have him wear, the most drab, ordinary cloak ever. And I think that's not Gandalf. Not Gandalf in front of him. So
it is.
People are theorizing that this is how he gets his hat. Tom Bombadil will give him his wizard's hat.
All I know is that right here in this shot, Tom Bombadil looks like he's concentrating to fart. That's what he looks like. Tom Bombadil's supposed to be happy.
He's never serious.
And I think every I don't think there's any more. If there is, I'd have to load it up, and I'm not going to. There were like 4 screen caps or images released for this, and in every one he's serious. This is the opposite of Tom Bombadil, and I believe the description was he's so concerned about events he needs to protect his forest, which is why he's out where he is in Rue.
That's wrong. That's wrong.
And it's wrong.
Altogether.
So we can now expect.
He doesn't stick his nose into things. He keeps well away.
Okay, thank you, Jay Frazier. So they got the rights to the Adventures of Tom Bombadil. Okay, so they're going to, but they're obviously going to bastardize it from what he was presented as in Fellowship. So now, congratulations, Amazon. You have once again. Well, you stoked our excitement to rip on this. We're going to get nothing but joy of making fun of. I'm sure as I'm reviewing it, I'll come up with one of my nicknames for him because it's not Tom Bombadil. I'll have to see how he behaves. It's a spur of the moment thing. I never planned them. Tommy B. The only one I ever planned or borrowed was everybody was saying Guy Ladriel, Warrior Princess, so I just jumped on that bandwagon. But and did you hear this also, Jed? I was right. Apparently, baby mama Bronwyn, she ain't coming back.
Really?
He is not in the season. I was right. There is no baby mama Bronwyn.
Is she recast then?
No, she's just the character's gone. And
her son and boyfriend are in it.
Yeah. So and she gave a really vague thing on Instagram about how I'm just stepping away. I didn't leave the show for any reason. No, you probably ran the F away from this show because it destroyed your image because you were talking about I'm a proud Persian actress representing myself on screen. And how did that go over for you? Didn't go over well at all. So she is out. She's gone. She says she's briefly stepping away. No, she's out. She's not a part of this. And I love how Hollywood Reporter Bronwyn is a human healer who is the mother of Theo. Remember, badass teenage mustache Theo had a forbidden romance with the elf warrior Arendir, and she's not there, and I love it that they made such a big deal about her in season 1 as a leader, as she's the one that is being directly spoken to by Galadriel when they won the war. Everybody's so impressed by her. Well, now she's gone. All that time spent making another brave and bold woman, and she's effed off from your show as though she was never there to begin with, because she wasn't there. She's not a Tolkien character. None of the characters in Rings of Power, and I will say Galadriel isn't, because she's not Galadriel. She's Galadriel, warrior princess. None of these characters are Tolkien characters. It's not going to be Tom Bombadil. We're not going to get I don't know who else is going to pop up this season. We don't know. Actual in name only characters. All we know is the characters that are there: Femrond, Gil-galad, Celebrimbor. They're all just going to keep being ruined. They are. I have no doubt about this. So I just had to bring that up, round it out. Tom, not Bombadil. No more Baby Mama Bronwyn. We're going to have fun with Mordor Country.
At least we have Tits McGee.
Oh, see, I was glad we were wrong about that.
Mm-hmm.
I just hope they put her in better dresses than the one we saw in the trailer, because she listen, I don't think she needs fixing, but I can help her. I can help carry her.
She needs help, yeah.
She needs help.
She chose to be in this show.
Yes. So I guess I can help her. I don't know if she needs fixing yet, because when she did her interviews, they were pretty light. She didn't do what the others did, and she knew exactly what she was doing in those interviews. So
she definitely did.
She definitely did. So we will enjoy. So join us. I believe what is it, premiere on August 29th. So August 31st. Actually, no, August 31st. Yeah, because 29th. God damn it. Let me look at the day. I want to get it right. I'm getting it right. Hang on. I'm getting it right. August 29th. Yeah, so August 29th premieres Thursday, August 29th. So you could join us August 31st. And for the duration of Rings of Power Season 2, we will be putting aside Saturday Night Drive-In, and welcome to This Is Mordor Country. We'll be taking its spot for the duration. And it's just going to be fun. Listen, I don't know if I want to be your agent, but I want to be something. I want to be something. Hey, listen, I will not lie. She's hot. Okay. She's hot. Okay. There we go. All right. That's it. I got nothing else. If Dre was here, we'd talk the video game stuff, but without Dre, we're missing his video game perspective. So we're going to save that maybe for next week. If not, if something else doesn't come along. So I'm going to wrap it up here in the day. Let's go around the horn, Sarah farewells, and then have the nice rest of our week. And Jed, what you got coming up this week?
Well, you can all find me on YouTube and Kick at Hollywood Scholar. I'll be doing a live stream with Adam this Saturday at 8:30 p.m. where we're talking the new gay Bridgerton Doctor Who episode. So that's going to be exciting. That's 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then, of course, the other shows I normally have with Adam that he'll talk about.
And we'll have Dermy as our protection, so we can be as derogatory as we want on that episode.
It is Dermy month, so
it is Dermy month. You know, he's running with that. He all night last night on Saturday. Every time somebody said Prime Month, he goes, "No, it's Dermy month." So he's running with it. He's going with it. Dragon Lady, anything coming up this week?
Hopefully at some point I might try and do a review for Godzilla -1, if I remember, at some point.
Okay. All right. That's relevant. That's still topical. So have some fun with that. As for myself, tonight I'll be playing Final Fantasy 14 tonight, probably privately. So I'm having fun with that. It's my personal downtime stuff right now. Tomorrow, Monday, start off the week, 10 p.m. Mellow Mondays. We're starting a little later because Devil's taking a break from social media for a couple of months, so we're pushing it back because I can't carry the show by myself for an hour, and I'm not exactly guaranteed anybody else showing up. So getting it closer when Samuel can jump on and help do, because that's meant to be a bouncing off nerd show, not just me talking by myself like Natural 20. So join us for that. Tuesday night into Wednesday, it's Acolyte. We're here. I'm gonna roast it. 2-episode review. It'll be all in one thing. I'm not going to break them apart. So stay tuned Wednesday afternoon for my review of the Acolyte. There probably won't be a Natural 20 because that's going to take up my whole day. and I won't really have anything else to talk about now. So it's going to gas me probably. So I'm just going to want to play video games after that when I'm done that night. Excuse me. Thursday, Friday, probably whatever stories are going on besides Acolyte. Friday, Ball Busters, 11 p.m. Eastern over on Dermy's channel. And then Saturday Night Drive-In, 6 p.m. Eastern. This week, Jed and I will be watching the adaptation of Taming of the Shrew, 10 Things I Hate About You, starring Heath Ledger. And I forgot her name again. I remembered it before the show, and I just forgot her name. Julia Stiles. There it is. Julia Stiles. So there you go. We'll be watching that. And as Jed said, right after that at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we'll be right back for Doctor Who Cares Reviews with Bridgerton episode. We're likely to have Shooty Gatwa gay sex. Yes, I said it.
Bets on if he's the top or bottom in the chat.
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I don't need that imagery in my head. I just don't. No. And then we'll be right back here Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern for another round table where we hope to entertain you once more. So thank you, everybody showing up today. I appreciate each and every one of you for being here. Remember to hit that like button, subscribe to the channels, and we will see you next time. Until then, guys, take it easy.